Hi everybody, I'm here for Fragment Friday, and this week I'm going to be reading from Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan, which comes out later this month. It says October 26th, so be sure to go out on October 26th and get a copy. I'm just going to be reading right from the start, so there really isn't a whole lot to know. So, here we go. Chapter 1, Dash, December 21st. Imagine this. You're in your favorite bookstore scanning the shelves. You get to the section where a favorite author's books reside, and there, nestled in comfortably between the incredibly familiar spines, sits a red notebook. What do you do? The choice, I think, is obvious. You take down the red notebook and open it, and then you do whatever it tells you to do. It was Christmas time in New York City, the most detestable time of the year. The moo-like crowds, the endless visits from hapless relatives, the ersatz cheer, the joyless attempts at joyfulness. My natural aversion to human contact could only intensify in this context. Wherever I went, I was on the wrong end of the stampede. I was not willing to grant salvation through any army. I would never care about the whiteness of Christmas. I was a Decemberist, a Bolshevik, a career criminal, a philatelist, trapped by an unknowable anguish. Whatever everyone else was not, I was willing to be. Oh, sorry. I have cats behind the... and one's licking the... oh, like, one's licking the other, I can't. Too cute. Anyway, sorry. I walked as invisibly as I could through the Pavlovian spend-drink hordes, the broken winter breakers, the foreigners who had flown halfway across the world to see the lighting of a tree without realizing how completely pagan such a ritual was. The only bright side of this dim season was that school was shuttered, presumably so everyone could shop ad nauseam and discover that family, like arsenic, works best in small doses, unless you prefer to die. This year I had managed to become a voluntary orphan for Christmas, telling my mother that I was spending it with my father, and my father that I was spending it with my mother, so that each of them booked non-refundable vacations with their post-divorce paramours. My parents hadn't spoken to each other in 8 years, which gave me a lot of leeway in the determination of factual accuracy, and therefore a lot of time to myself. I was popping back and forth between their apartments while they were away, but mostly I was spending time in the Strand, that bastion of titillating erudition. Not so much a bookstore as the collision of 100 different bookstores, with literary wreckage strewn over 18 miles of shelves. I've been to the Strand. Sorry, I just wanted to say that. All the clerks there saunter slouch around distractedly in their skinny jeans and their thrift store button-downs, like older siblings who will never ever be bothered to talk to you, or care about you, or even acknowledge your existence if their friends are around, which they always are. Some bookstores want you to believe they're a community center, like they need to host a cookie-making class in order to sell you some Proust. But the Strand leaves you completely on your own, caught between the warring forces of organization and idiosyncrasy, with idiosyncrasy winning every time. In other words, it was my kind of graveyard. I was usually in the mood to look for nothing in particular when I went to the Strand. Some days I would decide that the afternoon was sponsored by a particular letter, and would visit each and every section to check out the authors whose last names begin with that letter. Other days I would decide to tackle a single section, or would investigate the recently unloaded tomes, thrown in bins that never really conformed to alphabetization. Or maybe I'd only look at books with green covers, because it had been too long since I read a book with a green cover. I could have been hanging out with my friends, but most of them were hanging out with their families or their wees. Wees? We? What is the plural? I preferred to hang out with the dead, dying, or desperate books. Used, we called them, in a way that you'd never call a person, unless you meant it cruelly. Look at Clarissa, she's such a used girl. I was horribly bookish, to the point of coming right out and saying it, which I knew was not socially acceptable. I particularly loved the adjective bookish, which I found other people used about as often as ramrod, or chum, or teetotaler. On this particular day I decided to check out a few of my favorite authors, to see if any irregular editions had emerged from a newly deceased person's library sale. I was perusing a particular favorite. He shall remain nameless, because I might turn against him some day, when I saw a peak of red. It was a red moleskine, made of neither mole nor skin, but nonetheless the preferred journal of my associates who felt the need to journal in non-electronic form. You can tell a lot about a person from the pages he or she chooses to journal on. I was strictly a college-ruled man myself, having no talent for illustration and a microscopic scrawl that made wide rule seem roomy. The blank pages were usually the most popular. I only had one friend, Thibaud, who went for the grid. Or at least he did until the guidance counselors confiscated his journals to prove that he had been plotting to kill our history teacher. This is a true story. There wasn't any writing on the spine of this particular journal. I had to take it off the shelf to see the front, where there was a piece of masking tape with the words, "Do You Dare," written in black Sharpie. When I opened the covers, I found a note on the first page. "I've left some clues for you. If you want them, turn the page. If you don't, put the book back on the shelf, please." The handwriting was a girl's. I mean, you can tell. That enchanted cursive. Either way, I would have endeavored to turn the page. So here we are. 1. Let's start with French pianism. I don't really know what it is, but I'm guessing nobody's going to take it off the shelf. Charles Timbrell's your man. 8872, 8848. Do not turn the page until you fill in the blanks. Just don't write in the notebook, please. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys check out Dash and Lily's Book of Dares and when it comes out. And I can't wait to see everybody else's Fragment Friday. And I thank you all for participating every single week, new readers who come in every single time. I just love doing this. So, thank you all for participating. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.